Salutations, Africans. The bitter Thabo Mbeki, he is at it again, right? The bitter Thabo Mbeki has started again with his attacks on his successor, being President Jacob Zuma. I think you guys have seen the headlines, the news, the articles that came out over this past weekend, where the former President Thabo Mbeki suggesting that the former President Jacob Zuma, who succeeded Thabo Mbeki, may have been a spy that was planted by the apartheid in the Robben Island, right? Remember, President Jacob Zuma spent 10 years in prison in Robben Island, right? He was arrested, then he was sentenced, and then he spent 10 years at Robben Island. So now you've got this Thabo Mbeki who suggests that President Zuma may have been there on a mission as a spy planted by the apartheid regime. I know it's upset, right? It's upset. Like, you're trying to make sense of what Mbeki is saying, because he's saying about there are no records to show Jacob Zuma's trial, trace it and all of that, his sentencing and all of that. But now, here's the thing. Here's the genesis. The fact remains that, and it's not just Thabo Mbeki, it is even people who supported Thabo Mbeki. We know plenty of them, right? From the local level, who were councillors, go to the provincial level and all of that. People who were supporting Thabo Mbeki prior to the ANC 52nd National Conference in 2007 in Polokwane, right? So Thabo Mbeki and those people, they have never moved on. Those people have never moved on from the defeat that they suffered at the hands of President Jacob Zuma and his slate.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to another epic episode where we dive into politics, and it's time for us to check what is trending. So Sunday World Bar give this news article to say that former President Thabo Mbeki says that Jacob Zuma was the apartheid spy. Yeah, this has just came under fire as many people disbelieve this, and it was reported that the former president said during the NEC of the ANC meeting that they had. And one will just ask himself the biggest question ever, to say that why are they releasing this now? What is their agenda? Especially after the MK party is experiencing so many problems, challenges, and tumult inside the organization. Why are they now pouring petrol on top of fire? Why they were quiet? Because when I follow the story, I hear that this the former president said this about a week or 2 weeks ago, but it seems like they just holded this that they wanted to release this just at the right time, especially calling out Sunday World to say that why would you announce this during this time? This is a peak hour for the MK party, where they have to deal with internal squabbles that are happening amongst the members. And now you say this to say that the former president, knowing the position of the former president, that he does not get along with President Jacob Zuma. So what do you expect? Do you expect the former President Thabo Mbeki to say anything good about President Jacob Zuma? You remember that these two, they don't see eye to an eye. These two are bitter enemies. Since the sufferings of Polokwane, the outcome, the camp that was following President Thabo Mbeki, they were never happy. They are still not happy, as much as the President Jacob Zuma was never happy about how he has been taken out from the ANC, and is not happy with President Ramaphosa, even calling the ANC of Ramaphosa. So we know that these liberation heroes, they don't want to lose power, all of them. When there's a person who threatens their power and their position, they will just make so many excuses and develop hate afterwards. That is how our leaders are. But now I want us to go back to maybe look, when did the troubles and the problems emerge between these two leaders, former President Thabo Mbeki and former President Jacob Zuma. You remember when former President Thabo Mbeki did this to Jacob Zuma? It all started here.
I've come to the conclusion that the circumstances dictate that in the interest of the Honorable Deputy President, the government, our young democratic system and our country, it would be best to release Honorable Jacob Zuma from his responsibilities as Deputy President of the Republic and member of the Cabinet.
So today the former president is angry at Jacob Zuma. We know that he did say and declare that he is no longer their friend because Jacob Zuma is the counter-revolutionary. So it does not consider him in any way possible to be the friend of the revolution, which is the ANC, and say that the former president Jacob Zuma, he has captured SARS and captured ESCOM. But the truth of the matter, former President Thabo Mbeki, is that you had your own people there at SARS that you put there so that you'll benefit, and you had your own people there at ESCOM. So when the other administration now came after you, obviously you have to take away your people so that they put new people in. So now we are accusing Jacob Zuma of saying he captured ESCOM and SARS because of he put there Tom Moyane and he was not under your camp or in your faction. And now you are still angry because he took some bread in your mouth or some meat in your mouth because you know that you're benefiting through those people, the administration that you put there at SARS. Now you are complaining, making him as if now he's the worst of everything. Same goes with President Jacob Zuma. He's complaining about President Ramaphosa. Why are ANC presidents, they always have a problem with the people that will follow after them? Like President Ramaphosa, highly you will have a problem with the next president that will come. It can be Paul Mashatile or whosoever, but you will have a problem with that because that is the tradition of the ANC since the times of former President Thabo Mbeki, and it went to President Jacob Zuma, and now it is going to affect President Cyril Ramaphosa. And these three, by the way, they don't get along at all. They are bitter enemies. Do you remember when the former President Thabo Mbeki said this about Jacob Zuma here?
Historically, my relations with my colleagues, my comrades have been okay. But where something goes radically wrong, like in the case of Jacob Zuma, of course the relationship must change radically with regard to that. With Comrade Ramaphosa, I work very well with Comrade Ramaphosa. You will have seen, for instance, that when I delivered this address on the 30 years of South African democracy, I cited some of the things he's been saying and doing because they were correct. So there's no problem there. But obviously, I would imagine that even if I did something wrong, Comrade Cyril would not hesitate to say to me, "You're doing something wrong." In the same way, I'd say I do the same thing with him. But I'm saying in the case of Jacob Zuma, you can't act the way he has acted and hope to maintain an old relationship because he has broken that relationship. He's broken that relationship. You can't campaign against the ANC and pretend that the ANC belongs to Ramaphosa. He knows very well it does not belong to any Ramaphosa. It belongs to the people, it becomes the membership, it belongs to the country. But deliberately it goes out and does a very wrong thing, and necessarily that means there will be a rupture. There will be a rupture. We can't, there's no way you can continue to deal with a person like that and call them comrade because they're not comrades, not anymore.
So tell me exactly, what good do you expect from former President Thabo Mbeki in anything that he has to say responding to Jacob Zuma? Do you think you will speak good and highly about him as if they are friends? You remember these two, they had a bond. Jacob Zuma really loved Thabo Mbeki because of his education, his intellect. The man today is still smart. You can listen to former President Thabo Mbeki and you will learn a thing or two because he can just articulate like that. He's brilliant like that. But every time when now he needs to speak about whether Cyril Ramaphosa or President Jacob Zuma, he just off ramp. You can even ask yourself, where did the intellect go now? What has happened? Because when you allow hate to grow and become matured, it will just destroy your reasoning capacity. It will just destroy how you view things and you view that particular individual. So anything that will coming from President Thabo Mbeki regarding Jacob Zuma, with me personally, I don't take it into consideration, because I know that the man, when he said that Jacob Zuma is no longer our friend or the friend of the ANC, he even changed his facial expression, and you would tell that the man is so angry. He's not happy at all. So Sunday World, I'm calling you out. There's an agenda that you are doing. There's an agenda. And just in passing, maybe the MK party detectives, they will need to detect and maybe to search whether there are no other opposition party infiltrating the party for people to resign, buying them and all that stuff. Because hey, something is wrong somewhere. There are people who are just laughing there somewhere in the buildings and laughing at the MK party to say that we got them. These things need to be investigated, because why would the whole newspaper, the whole media house and the world come with this in such a time like this? I don't understand. I'm still failing to fathom this position that they are giving, to say Jacob Zuma was the spy. So there's this post that I found there. I find it very interesting, which is written by Lunati. She says that the ANC cannot continue being trapped in the never-ending shadow of the Mbeki Zuma fallout. The perpetuity, this thing has gone on for too long. And instead of building the movement, it has done the complete opposite of dividing comrades, weakening organizational cohesion, and making the ANC battleground for personal grievances rather than a vehicle for transformation. The reality is both Mbeki and Zuma failed to reconcile when it mattered most. They felt to be bigger than their egos for the sake of the ANC. Even after Polokwane, when the ANC needed healing, they chose to remain in their corners, nursing old wounds. Now, years later, we are still being dragged into their unfinished business. The ANC cannot be held hostage by their historical grudges any longer. We cannot afford to keep reliving 2002, 2005, 2007, 2018, or even 2021. That chapter must close. The focus should be on renewal and rebuilding, not recycled old battles that do nothing but paralyze the movement. Mbeki must accept that Polokwane happened, just as Zuma must accept that he was recalled in 2018 and unfortunately arrested by the state in 2021. They must both rise above their personal disappointment, and instead of using the ANC as a platform to settle scores. So much so now that JZ is no longer a member of the African National Congress. The fact that they have failed to make peace should not mean that the ANC must remain stuck in their fight. And let's be clear, this idea that Zuma was some spy is nothing but propaganda. Anyone with a sense knows it's nonsense, a cheap political tactic that does nothing to take the movement forward. Even Mbeki and Zuma cannot heal for the sake of the ANC, especially Mbeki, whom is still an ANC member and elder. Then the ANC must move beyond them on Mbeki, because on Zuma, it's really neither here nor there. As he is no longer a member, the renewal process cannot be about accommodating old battles. It must be about chanting a new path. This movement is bigger than two individuals, and it's time we act like it. Enough is enough. So personally, what Lunati has written, I totally agree with her. This battle has been going on for far too long. It's time for the oldies to reconcile and to come together, because they were friends before, and say that money has corrupted us, money has disrupted us, and money has made our personal egos to fight for our pride. Let's reconcile and come together, because now we are old, and just to go to picnic together with their wives and just to have a good time. That is what they're supposed to be chasing, not to be quapping and fighting each other now and barking at each other, and everyone or anyone gets an opportunity, strikes, attack this one. That is not good for where we are. We need these great minds to unite so that we'll go forward as a black nation and a nation as a whole.